Oh my goodness. Thursday has come once again. Welcome into Star Wars Internet Live. I am Tyler. Favorite time of the week, as always. We're going to be reflecting on everything that happened in Star Wars in 2023, which seems like where to begin because even in a year where there's no movies, we had multiple TV shows, tons of books, tons of comics, tons of video game stuff. It was just an absolutely bonkers year for Star Wars. I am joined tonight by Brian himself. Brian, how are we doing?
What's going on, man? I'm so freaking glad the 3-day weekend's here. TGIF. Hope everybody is going to have a great New Year's. Everybody be safe. And let's talk some Star Wars, man.
And of course, making his triumphant, I feel like it's about every 3 or 4 weeks he makes his triumphant re-entry. And that's Nate, who's sporting his Minnesota Timberwolves hoodie, which is wonderful because my Thunder just beat them the other night as we're
it's regular season.
And try to come back and take over the
come back to me in June when the Thunder are out in the first round.
They're beating Denver right now. How are you, Nate?
I'm all right. I'm excited to talk some Star Wars and the wonderful year that was 2023. And we're here on a Friday, Tyler. We're not here on Thursday. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, it is Friday. We're here every Thursday, so
this was your idea to do it on Friday. This was your idea to do it tonight.
So quick note on that, like I'm always down to on Thursdays, of course, but my girlfriend flew in. It's her last night to visit. My family and I are gathering for the holidays, and I just had a feeling if I said, hey, let me just slip out here for an hour and a half to go talk about Star Wars on the last night we're doing a family gathering, I might have not been alive to do the show today. So let's just say that's how it went. Before we get started, I got some stats here for you guys that for those of us that are tuning into live show right now, please, we're going to be talking a lot about favorite moments in Star Wars this year. So just drop in your comments as we're going. We're going to cover pretty much everything tonight, but I really want to just go through, for those of you who might be new to Star Wars Newsnet, here's just some quick numbers. This is what Star Wars Newsnet, just a few things that we were able to do as a team this year. As of this morning, I counted 1,075 articles that were written this year from the Star Wars Newsnet team. I went through like every month in the archives, and it was over 1,000 this year, which is just absolutely incredible that we're able to do that. We have 14 new books that came out this year, which were reviewed by the staff. 126 comics were reviewed on the site.
40 books out this year.
It felt like 40. We had 126 comics that we reviewed this year, which maybe we missed one here or there, but usually very rare if we miss one. So that's a lot of comic reviews this year. Obviously, we reviewed every single Bad Batch, Mando, and Ahsoka episodes. We have like 32 episodes that we reviewed there. We reviewed the entirety of Star Wars Visions. During the 3 days of Star Wars Celebration, we did 40 pieces in those 3 days, just covering both the content that was shared, but we expanded upon that a lot and gave just even more, just different details added in, just some subcontext for people who might have missed. So I've 3 days, 40 pieces. That's a lot. And then tonight, our last live show of the year will be our 41st live show of 2023, which is also pretty crazy. But just a few numbers for us tonight as we get started. So for those of you who might just be new to Star Wars Newsnet, that's why we are your source for, Star Wars news, comics, books. We have the live shows. We cover every show. Like anything Star Wars you want, we live and breathe to write about it, talk about it. And Brian was a big part of all of our live shows and some of our weekly roundups throughout the year. And then Nate, heads up our publishing team. So I just want to say, real quick, thank you to both of you guys for everything that you contributed to the greatness that we were able to do this year. Before we get started, just a quick word. You have a quick word of just, I'm giving you a chance to gas yourself up a little bit. Quick word on just, the greatness you brought to the table this year.
Yeah. So as you just said, this was kind of my first year taking on the book and comic side of things here at Star Wars Newsnet. And it's probably the busiest year of my life, juggling work, personal life, and all this stuff. But man, was it an honor and a privilege to write as many different such a variety of stuff out this year, and both publishing and the on-screen product in Star Wars. It was just 2023, it wasn't really the most eventful year. Yeah, that's debatable, but like the content and the stuff we got, like more often than not, it was really fun and really good to just share in the community that is Star Wars.
Absolutely. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, it's been a blast this last year working on everything with you guys and you know, doing the weekly roundups, which we're going to be starting again after the first of the year. You know, talking about these news stories and getting into arguments with Paul seems to be like the best part of the year. So I've been having a blast talking with everybody in the live chat, talking with you guys, and just getting to be a part of this. So here's to another year of it, man.
But we're not into 2024 yet. We're going to do a little deep dive and we go over everything 2023. So we're going to start off, of course, with the high note. And this might not be the movie, like this isn't necessarily the one you're thinking of, I think, right off the back. I'm not going to ask you guys, what do you think the biggest news of the year is? I want to know, this is kind of a weird question. Miguel threw it in there. I want you guys to tell me who won the year of Star Wars. Who is the big winner this year?
Winners and losers.
And
are we gonna do losers as well? Are we gonna do losers as well?
No, we could do losers. And if you don't have your winner, I got mine ready to go if you need a second. But do you have your big winner of the year ready to go? Either one. Brian, Nate,
no,
either one of
go
you got
ahead,
it?
Tyler.
What do you got? Off the top of my head, the winner.
You want me to go first? So
Yeah,
you can marinate
go
on
for
it.
it.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I picked Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck. Just because they got the big promotions this year, and they could be the big losers at some point in the next few years if they drop the ball with these feature films and other projects that are coming up. But right now, I feel like for me, Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni, they got their promotions to their, basically the head honchos now under Kathleen Kennedy. So if there was ever a winner this year, I feel like it would have to be them, given how they were essentially handed the keys to the Star Wars IP kingdom for the foreseeable future. And a lot of mixed reactions from people on that. I would say I saw mostly positive, and I feel like I'm mostly positive. We've talked about on this show in the past how we do have a little bit of reservations there just because of the lack of experience when it comes to feature films. Well, let's say lack of experience, like no experience when it comes to feature films. But right now, I'm focused on the positive. They're the big winners this year with the promotions. I am open to other ideas, though, of course. So, Nate, who do you got for me?
Oh, big winners. For me, this could be a little bit broad, but outside of the Lucasfilm itself, I kind of want to say like the younger generation of Star Wars, the kids and your preschoolers and whatnot, because of things like Young Jedi Adventures finally getting something to sink their teeth into. Because I've heard a lot of parents, while like the original trilogy and stuff isn't necessarily not kid friendly, all of Star Wars is meant to be for families to enjoy, but there's stuff in the movies and shows and whatnot that isn't super kid friendly sometimes. And some parents are a little iffy about that kind of stuff, for better or for worse. But now there is literally something for Star Wars for literally every single age. And Young Jedi Adventures, for me, that's one of the big wins of the year, is that show and just how enjoyable it is, how just refreshing of content it is. And it's obviously not going to be on anyone's top 10 Star Wars things of the year.
Are you kidding? I came on here tonight specifically ready to talk about what's his name? Is it crap? I can't remember his name. Is it Jai or something? Is the main
Kai?
Who's the Kai? I came on here specifically ready to talk about Kai, and
Kai, I think, could be, if they continue with the High Republic, I think Kai could be a really interesting character as he grows up, because his tendencies, I don't know, they're not like, I don't know, Kai could be a really interesting character. And of course, Nubs, if they continue on, Nubs is going to take over the world. So Star Wars branched out a little bit more this year in its preschool programming and whatnot. And yeah, you got to think Young Jedi Adventures for that. So they're probably the big winners.
Yes.
So
I need to brush up on my Young Jedi adventures. It's been a minute. Kai Brightstar. That's right. And what's the name of the like guy he like, fights like his little rival, but then they kind of become friends? Tabor. Yes. Give me
the
some
episodes. The episodes where those
I have like
two
8
bounce
left
off of each other are genuinely really interesting. So there's some stuff in Young Jedi Adventures that is actually really well done and well written. And the episode that Kevin Scott wrote of it with Bel Zettifar and whatnot is also really well written. So yeah, just more Star Wars fans get to be brought into this galaxy. And I think that has to be highlighted for 2023 for me.
So we got Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni, the youngest of young generations of Star Wars fans, and I guess even parents who want to introduce. We have Manslayer says Emanis Fondi. Like, I mean, it's hard to argue against that, just given how Ezra and everything, and then Looser Star Wars Tantrums. And then, yes, thank you, Jason, for reminding me it's Kai Brightstar, of course.
Oh,
Brian,
yes. He just added
yes. Other winners for Hayden Christensen and the Kiners with Ahsoka. Absolutely 100%. So glad Kevin Kiner got to do that. Brian, who's your big winner? Who's our big winner?
I was going to say 3. Hayden Christensen being the first. I was going to say he definitely freaking won. And there's 2 others that I think definitely took the year, and that is Ray Stevenson with Balin, and I think, and this might be a little controversial, maybe not, I don't know. I think Ahmed Best coming back,
literally,
as,
we have a
as
comment
the Jedi.
here.
I think that
Jason
was
Wong
there we go. Ahmed Best. Yep.
I mean, you can't argue that either. You can't argue.
I think because I think Hayden Christensen and I think Ahmed Best. This was their year of, not that they needed it, but their year of redemption. You know, for them and their reputations with Star Wars. It was an amazing year for them. And I'm really glad they got to come back and, you know, not fix what they did, but, you know, try to not leave on a sour note and actually, you know, get the fans excited again. Like Hayden Christensen got so much love this year. You know, Ray Stevenson got so much love this year, you know, and it's a shame he didn't get to see the results of what he did. But he's one of the winners, man. So I'm gonna go with those 3. Those are my big 3.
3 awesome picks.
The Ahmed Best one is fantastic. He deserved that, and that was fantastic.
I might change mine to Ahmed Best because, like, I don't know. It's just seeing him on screen was one of the most wholesome moments of the year for anything. Like, it was such a genuinely great moment, and the response he got was overwhelmingly positive.
Absolutely. And how many people like that would have never come back to Star Wars given what happened? Like a lot of people would never want to even begin to come back after that.
Yeah.
And he was down. I loved how I feel like the love affair with Hayden kind of began a little bit last year with Kenobi.
Right.
But we don't really, you know, we got to see him a little bit. And then this year, after a full year of that, and then coming in and, you know, he knows he's going to be in Ahsoka, and then we get to see like Anakin more in this one too. That was just, I'm grateful that he was able to be a part of that. So yeah, those are the winners. Now let's get into what was your favorite piece of Star Wars news this year. Now, this does not have to be, you don't have to go for like the golden goose of like movies or anything or big show news. If it's literally, oh my gosh, I am so excited that we're getting the new Star Wars Mace Windu book next year. And they announced it, like, you know what, to each their own. Like, I'm not here to say that one person shouldn't be excited over something. I'm intentionally going to make Brian mad with my favorite piece of Star Wars news. He knows where I'm going with that. But Nate, we'll throw it with you first. Favorite Star Wars news of the year.
I actually know the answer to this one. And for me, when I saw this, it's what got the biggest pop out of me. I jumped out of my seat in excitement when I first saw this. It was not the Mace Windu book. It was actually the Living Force book, but that's not the number one. Number one is also related to publishing, and it was the news that Vernestra Rwoh is coming to the Acolytes. I love the High Republic, but I love when the books get their due and they get some shine in the live action and animated and stuff like that, because it makes me feel like all the effort I am putting in to stay caught up with that side of Star Wars actually matters. So it's going to, so when I saw that and like, oh my God, and the leaked images that they had of Vernestra as well from the Acolyte, I'm like, oh my God, like I lost it. Like, I remember us chatting, Tyler, in the Discord when that news popped and who's going to cover it. I'm like, oh my god, whoa. It was madness. It was madness.
I remember typing so fast. I was like, yes. And then, well, that's just fantastic too. I put a note here, like in my notes. I was like, if Nate, I felt like you were going to say that. Like, I feel like Nate was going to bring up Vernestra Rowe. So I put, if Nate does not bring up Vernestra Rowe, I am going to bring up Vernestra Rowe. But I'm glad that you did it. You know, I can save my other piece of news.
Yeah, there's a ton of
Rebecca
good stuff.
Henderson.
Yeah, but that has to be the top for me because I don't know. It's just yes. And Vernestra, she's can't wait for.
She's awesome.
Can't wait for people to be introduced to that character and fall in love, and hopefully fall in love with the character, assuming the accolade.
Who knows what's gonna take place? And Brian, I want to get your opinion on this too, because we read about her when she's at her youngest in your Jedi years. Here, she's gonna be like a wizened at the end of her probably rope, I would assume, towards the acolyte. But to me, also having a character like Vernestra Rowe that they're entering into this live action series. And I'm curious what you guys think about this. To me, it felt like the first little, and Brian, you've kind of been the biggest proponent on here thinking that the High Republic is going to be at some point the future in the live action or movie direction they go. So I felt like it was the first domino to fall, and everything you're reading right now is going to have more payoff at some point on the screen. It's going to start with the acolyte, and hopefully that does well, and then it's going to keep going. I feel like that was just the first domino to fall with Vernestra, and then it's only going to like snowball. But like, I'd be curious to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, it's what Legends did in that they put something out to start a new era, and then they just kept building upon that, and they're doing it now with the books. So now that they have Disney Plus and films, it's only going to get bigger. Assuming people watch the acolyte. That's going to be the big thing. Will people actually watch? So we'll see.
If they will put a freaking trailer out at some point, people might actually know it's coming out this year outside of, you know.
It's going to be a tough market job for that show, but I think they can do it.
And we've all seen that fuzzy, grainy trailer that leaked. We've all seen it.
It's awesome.
It's great. You put that trailer out now?
New Year's Day, just put it out. Just announce this is what you had to look forward to in 2024. Put it out. Come on, Lucasfilm.
Yep.
It's just kind of remarkable that they haven't done that, to be honest. I don't understand it.
That's their strategy.
It's coming after. It's going to be very shortly after the first of the year. It's got to be.
I don't know. Their strategy is just weird, but here's what it is. Moving on.
Brian, what is your news? What's your news of the year? If you had to pick, what's your news?
The Living Force novel is pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to that. Especially with John Jackson Miller. I've had him on my show before for an interview. He's awesome. I've talked to him a couple of times.
I can't wait to talk to him.
He's very awesome.
Day one when we get that copy for that book, I'm requesting that interview day one. I don't know who's reviewing it for the site yet, but I cannot wait to talk to that man.
He's a lot of fun to talk to. So I'm excited he's getting that book. And we're basically getting Euro Trip with Jedi. I'm so excited about that. But that, you know, and I know people have their reservations about this. Even I have my reservations about it. But it's the thing that got me the most excited when I first heard it was the Dave Filoni film that, you know, everybody's calling it, you know, the Heir to the Empire movie, whatever. You know, for right now, I guess that's what we can call it. But that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. When watching that presentation and, you know, they announced the new Jedi Order movie and the Dawn of the Jedi movie, it was the Dave Filoni one that was like, what? For me, it was just I was over the moon, just, yes, bring it on. And you guys have heard me say it several times on here. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most out of those three. I can't wait. That got me so pumped to be a Star Wars fan again, that we're going to get something like that. Mainly because of the potential of that film. You know, I think it's got this huge potential to really bridge a gap with the fan base and stuff. So I got to put my chips on that one, man. I love that.
Well, I would agree. It has huge potential for greatness. It also has huge potential for just an absolute.
It does.
Oh no!
That's why they announced three very different movies in different time periods. All they need is one hit, and they have their next saga planned out. So that's their plan with that.
Well, the problem with Lucasfilm is, what if the first one doesn't hit? What are they? You know, what happens? Because that's what happened last time with Solo.
They're so reactionary that you just don't know what they're going to do.
So I'm basically going to say a similar thing to Brian. I mean, Vernetra Row was what I was going to say if no one said this. But it's similar to Manslayer. It's the Ray movie for me, but beyond that too, it was just the having all of those people there because they brought Ray on stage, of
Seeing
course.
that,
They had Dave
great.
Filoni. They have they brought Mangold on stage as well, and just seeing like all three of them, and like having everyone on stage. Kathleen Kennedy standing there at Celebration, it felt like, okay, this feels solid. This feels secure. Now, Star Wars has lost the benefit of the doubt when it comes to feature films, but it did feel like this was a turning page, like a turning point in time for Star Wars.
Right. The transition forward into the next.
Mm-hmm. It really felt that way versus some of this just random news that we might hear about the Taika Waititi film or Lando being converted into a movie, or the sizzle reel
right there.
So I would have to go with the Manslayer there. But the Rey movie to me is really exciting because I want to see what does the future of Star Wars look like beyond the main saga that we've seen. What does the future look like? Because now they're not tied to anything at this point. They can just do whatever they want. And I really was happy for like Daisy Ridley's going to get even more respect, I think, from the Star Wars community. And they're even just validating what they did with the sequels by saying, we're confident in bringing her back to do this. And then having the three different eras. We're going to go forward. We're going to stay in the time zone that we're in the Filoni movie. And then we're going to go 25,000 years in the past with the Mangold film, which in terms of just a singular movie, that's the one I'm most excited for, just from a singular like movie doing this. I think he described it as like a Old Testament,
it was like a biblical epic thing, and this is nuts.
Which could be just absolutely great, just to watch Hugh Yang walk around with just some guys in robes, I guess. We'll see. But that to me was the big thing.
And there was lightsabers,
vibroblades. They're going to start with vibroblades.
It's just sticks. They're just whacking people with sticks for.
We're probably going to see the first lightsaber in that movie, and it's going to be awesome.
Man, I don't, not to derail. I think you're completely dead wrong on that. I don't think we're going to see any lightsabers.
You might be right, actually. I don't know.
I don't think we're going to. I think that's going to be a big buildup for, if they do end up doing more films on that series, if they do two or three more,
what they do.
Build up to a big.
Until we know more, we don't. I mean, it's basically the discovery of the Force in the movie. So, absolutely. You're probably
I'm more
right
intrigued by that one than I am than anything. Like, I'm excited for it, but I'm more intrigued by the idea of that movie.
It honestly might have the most potential of all of them, but it's just
1,000%.
There is so much murkiness there
because solely of James Mangold and his pedigree. Indiana Jones this year, it was what it was, but like Mangold's can make a great film. So in his hands,
I loved Indiana Jones. I'll be honest, I really.
I enjoyed it too, but yeah, like let's be honest, it didn't hold a candle to the originals, but
I mean, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark is like maybe the most perfect
it's one of the
Hollywood screenplay of all time. It's hard,
and so is Last Crusade. So it's like what do you expect? But yeah.
So moving on though, like to me that was for me, that was the big one, and there was a lot of other things that were more immediate, but to me, the movie experience trumps everything. And just to even feel like there's a rational, like actual plan in place now made me excited. So I'm sure my big news of 2024 is going to be when somehow all of this falls apart by next December. And we're sitting here next year like, yeah, remember when we were really excited about that?
Start taking bets now on when we're going to get the news. Trouble in paradise.
we got a Star Wars in that pool going on. Like I say April 16th.
Oh, wow, that early? Wow, jeez. I'm at least giving it till September.
Daisy Ridley has opted out of doing the movie after reading the full script. Dave Filoni has stepped down. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Hey, now. You threaten me like that.
Number 3, here we go. What was your favorite, what was the biggest TV show, maybe episode or moment this year in Star Wars. Of course, we have Visions. You can go with Young Jedi Adventures, of course. I imagine most of this is going to be from Bad Batch, Mando, and Ahsoka, if you had to pick one. So, Brian, we'll throw it your way first this time. What is going to be your choice? You can only select one. I'll give you like one honorable mention as well, even if you'd like. We can do an honorable mention.
Son of a.
You gotta. What's your moment? What's your episode? A character? What is it that just?
I've got to go for the low hanging fruit, man. I have to, because it was like I was sitting here trying to think if there's anything else that was a close second, and I don't think it was. And it's the entire episode of Ahsoka where she's in the world between worlds and she's talking to Anakin with the Clone Wars flashbacks and all that. Like that, to me, was the very, very like pinnacle of Star Wars for me. I was a freaking kid again watching Clone Wars. If I had to pick anything, second, like for honorable mention, I'm gonna go with Tech dying in Bad Batch, because that hit really hard. But I just, for some reason, that whole Ahsoka episode with Anakin and the flashing between him and Vader there toward the end, like, it's just, that whole episode was just fire, dude. I'm sorry, that was fire.
And then Manslayer says here, solitary clone and the Bad Batch, the one with Cody and Crosshair, and the latter kills the governor and the Empire takes over. I did put like a Bad Batch thing in here. For me, it wasn't that episode. I loved this one, the Outpost, where Crosshair and the clone are on their own and like the ice planet, and Crosshair ends up shooting the Imperial commander at the end. And that was just, I loved that episode. And Bad Batch season 2 gave me everything that Bad Batch season 1 did not. It's like we actually got to dive into the characters, and that episode was just amazing. I can't wait to see how they wrap everything up in season 3. But no, what about you, Nate?
Well, I can't even give a totally informed opinion because I hate to admit that I never watched Vision season 2. And that's something on my list, but I'm sorry, but yeah, and I never.
You're not a real fan, Nate.
I you know what? Yeah, probably. I mean, I fucking know.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, like it's funny because for me, I don't.
You think you're a fan because you read 800 comics this year?
You should see my just shelves and shelves of comics, just all this stuff. But yeah, like I did not expect to go into 2023 saying this, but I'm pretty sure my Manslayer. We're not getting into that. We're not getting into that tonight. But I did not expect to go into 2023 saying this, but I am pretty sure the Bad Batch season 2 was my favorite Star Wars show of the year. I did not expect to go into a year with Mandalorian season 3, Ahsoka, 2 shows I was dying for just to see what they were, and to come out saying the Bad Batch, a show that I didn't really like the first season, but season 2, once it really got into the meat and bones, season 2 really just kind of blew me away when all is said and done. Like the Bad Batch season 2 was really good. And yeah, probably my favorite moment of that was Tech dying from there. But I'll go, but my absolute favorite moments of the year from all Star Wars television was seeing Ray Stevenson fight Ahsoka for the first time. And that lightsaber fight in episode 4 of Ahsoka was
heavy,
ungodly good. Like, oh my Lord. The force and power of his swings and Ahsoka just trying to weave and duck, dive, dodge all these strikes and just fail. And just, God, he's so good. And I love that episode. So that's probably my episode of the year, Ahsoka episode 4. With all the variations of the lightsaber duels and all that stuff. And, of course, the cliffhanger at the end, seeing Hayden come back. Just an awesome hour of television that probably is my favorite television moment of the year. And to see the community response after that episode, and just the internet explode into a million pieces. Loved it.
Mm-hmm. That was Ray Stevenson was just everything that we wanted to be and more in this show, and words cannot say. And it's just incredible to see the reaction that's come from that as well. I also, can we all just take a moment and agree that anyone that thinks that they can pick and choose who should or can be a Star Wars fan is just absolutely idiotic and shouldn't have no one should pay them any mind like whatsoever. Can we just agree on that and then move on tonight and ignore those people? Oh my gosh.
We're not getting into it. I don't want to get into it.
No, I don't want to either. I got fired up now. I was looking at it. Good night. For me, I put the Solitary Clone. I put the Outpost on there because that was my favorite Bad Batch episode. I felt like, for me, I'll just say this: it was the Ahsoka premiere, and I just put that. I just loved everything about those 2 episodes that dropped back to back to start us off, and from the music to being reintroduced to characters I'd seen in animation, now in live action, and having that kind of excitement over this kind of Star Wars was really wonderful, because The Mandalorian is its own vibe. And then you have the animation side of Star Wars that is its own vibe. And then Andor is a very, darker, grittier show. And it felt like we hadn't had this kind of just mythos, off balance, off key Star Wars in a while, which almost, I hate to use the word pure Star Wars, but it was more classic kind of Star Wars, I think, in its storytelling and just what it was doing. And it was just kind of the Star Wars I've been missing a little bit for the past couple of years. And so having Ahsoka have her own show too is just incredible to see. So Ahsoka, the premiere, I really love the 2 episodes back to back. I've liked it when they've done that so far. It did feel like this part 1, part 2, and then this to me was like the best part right here when Baylan and Shin were taking over the ship at the start. It felt like kind of a reverse Phantom Menace.
Also, one of the silliest moments of all the show, but who cares? It was really cool.
Well, it's Star Wars. I don't care. He's like, these Jedi, you can let them on the ship with nothing. Of course.
I'll face them myself.
I don't care. It was awesome. And then everything about that was fantastic. Brian, I would kind of go with you, though. Like, the whole show was wonderful, but the World Between Worlds episode was...
It slapped.
It was an out-of-body experience, right?
And the episode after that was good, too. I mean, I enjoyed it also.
You can debate the quality of Ahsoka, but the moments they gave you in that show, like, that's what people have been wanting from their Star Wars forever, and we got some of that. So
actually seeing a live-action Thrawn is on that list, too, for me. Like, that, I wasn't sure how he was going to be able to pull off a live action Thrawn. I knew he was going to sound like him, but I wasn't sure how he was going to be able to pull. I think it was great. I think, it's got me pumped for the future. And dude, I think that was an awesome addition to the year too.
So the flagship show of Disney has been The Mandalorian, and it was interesting when it came to favorite TV show stuff. No one really mentioned The Mandalorian.
Can we just be honest ourselves and say that The Mandalorian season 3 sucked? Can we just be honest with ourselves?
Whoa, yeah. I don't think sucked is the right word. It sucked is not the right word. I think underbaked, I guess, maybe undercooked a little bit.
I don't know what I would describe.
I don't know. I really like half baked, so.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, half baked. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, I eat a lot of shitty food and I read a lot of shitty books and comics, so I like my slop. So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Season 3 just didn't work for me all that much.
I guess overbaked. I'm sorry. No, to me, it felt like they knew exactly where they wanted to end up, but they forgot to take those moments along the way to relax a little bit, and they were so focused with how to get there. But I mean, there were some stuff like, I mean, the ruins of Mandalore were
cool.
Really cool to see. There was there were some great moments.
I really liked
it was just all over the
centric episode in episode 3, but it's like they had all these ideas, but they just didn't come together like I think they thought it would. And yeah, I don't know. It's like they're setting up so much stuff for the future, and it's like they book a Boba Fett edits.
Michael
with Mando season 3 episodes in. All right. We talked about
you killed them before they could give their.
We started this show talking about the big winners of the year. Moff Gideon has to be the biggest loser of the year because he went out like a little, pardon my French, children, bitch. Like I don't know what they were doing.
He almost won if it wasn't for the little green guy that could protect
I don't know
his
what
dad
they were doing
without
with
moving
that
his
character this year. It didn't work for me at all, and honestly, that probably kind of ruined the season for me a little bit.
Oh, it took that long? Like
I don't know, man.
I know.
I don't know, man. I was waiting for the payoffs. This is like Mandalorian always delivers with the finales. It always delivers.
Lizzo and Jack Black killed it for me.
I forgot about them. In all my ranting about the season, I forgot about Lizzo and Jack Black.
Oh my gosh, that was.
I like the ending to that episode though, with what's his face? I can't remember his name. What's the other Mandalorian's name?
Oh
yeah,
one of I can't remember what the name is. Bo-Katan, the dude.
He was a Vizsla.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't remember.
No. Oh no, was it Wolves?
Wolves, that's right. Axe Wolves.
Wolves.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Grogu? Is that who you're forgetting about?
The other Mandalorian, yeah.
I should probably watch the season again just to remember.
Oh, why would you put yourself through that?
I don't know,
That's
man.
not previous. Gosh, I'm
You don't deserve that, Nate.
Good.
You don't deserve that.
I need to watch Visions before I watch Mandalorian again. Prove I'm a Star Wars fan.
Oh man, Mando was tough. I think the problem with Moff Gideon was everyone absolutely loved the idea of Moff Gideon, and Juan Carlos Esposito was just such a awesome actor, and the just gravitas and energy and charisma that he brings to any role he's in, you just feel his presence like all the time. It was almost kind of like you feel like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like in The Walking Dead, like in it, you just feel his presence every time. It just felt like he never got his due. He always either was way off on his plan, he was wrong, he lost, and just they didn't give him a whole lot to work with, and it was frustrating. I would agree with that they kind of dropped the ball on that one. They had a chance to really do something special there.
Whatever. Moving on.
We enjoyed the check.
I can't wait for Mandalorian season 4 though. I cannot wait for next season.
We got to talk about this Christopher Lloyd thing for a second too that he brought up. Like that last part of that episode where he's got his hand over the robot. He's like, "Nobody move," and like nobody was already moving. Like it's like everybody was just like okay. Why would you have this giant red button that would erase everything with no cover over it? Like there was nothing over it. It was just there. Like
it
somebody could have tripped on their way in and went,
that is
society.
That is, as Manslayer says, very George Lucas. Like just
like in a SpongeBob episode, like there's just a random thing that wasn't there before. You look, oh, now it's there.
I love it.
At the end of the day, it was Star Wars. It was Star Wars fun. Like I can't wait for the next season of Mandalorian. I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be.
I'm so confused on the next season of Mandalorian, to be honest, because I don't know what it felt like. Almost a series finale with Grogu and Din hanging on. I just don't know.
And I'm interested as to where they're going. And yeah, I mean that's the challenge. I mean that's what any good screenwriter should be able to pull up as good stories for their characters. So we'll see what Favreau's got for it. Hopefully something good because it's all leading up to the Filoni movie. So he's going to have to do something.
Are we going to have 8 seasons of TV still before we get to the Filoni movie?
The way it's looking with the strikes and whatnot, it may be because they just can't get a film off the ground to save their lives through no fault of their own in some cases. Because of these stupid strikes, delaying scripts and all this stuff, and I don't know.
But my problem is going to be just what storylines are there that to even continue on. It almost feels like it's going to be a brand new show in some regards. He has a home now, and that's great. But because you can start, a lot of shows do that. They'll start fresh and take on a new role. But it seems odd to do that when you're also planning a movie that's kind of circling all of this.
Well, it's probably gonna expand on the New Republic stuff, and Thrawn will probably be around. Possibly, we'll learn more about what he's doing. So there's definitely
Carson Tava says, "Hey, could you run out to Dathomir real quick? Check something out for me." He's like, "Yeah, sure. What is it? Just some like undead troopers walking around."
Thrawn is nowhere to be seen, but we have all kinds of. We get like a Fallen Order type a sequence where he's just trying to run from everything, and everything's just chasing him. That could be kind of fun. But Sam, I say that, and we literally got that type of thing with the ice spiders in season 2, so maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we did seasons 1, 2, and 3. It's like in Fallen Order. If you go to Dathomir in season 1, or to start off the game, you get your butt kicked. That's why he had to go through seasons 1, 2, and 3. So now he goes to Dathomir. He's built up his Jedi skill points enough where he can do okay.
What if Marin is still alive and she went back to Dathomir?
That'd be cool. Can we all agree though that like if anybody's getting chased by Dathomirian witches and they start to fly, somebody has to say they fly now? Like they have to put that line in there somewhere.
He's just gonna be saying something. They fly now, and he's just gonna get a from Grogu.
Somehow Thrawn returned.
Or he has his IG every time Mando asks a question. He hits his IG unit. Yes. That was so funny. I'm sorry. I love that scene.
No, that was a good moment.
All right. Book of the Year. Star Wars Book of the Year, which is great that we're all three on tonight because we're all three major Star Wars book people. So, Book of the Year. You pick one. You eliminate all others. What book are you going with that came out in 2023? We'll start with Mr. Publishing himself, Nate.
Oh, boy. Sophie's choice. Pick one, get rid of the others. Oh boy.
You got to do it.
Gotta do it. And I did it because that means no more know what's going on in the High Republic. Because I have to pick. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi.
Whoa, I did not think you would go there.
These
about
books,
that one, to be honest.
These books, in of themselves, they're flawed. These books are very flawed, but they're also really fun. I love some of the stories in all of them, including this one. This one probably has my favorite of the bunch. It has a bunch of Ewok stories. It has basically Ewok Hunt from Battlefront 2, if you know what I'm talking about. It has Dexter Jetster. It has Yoda. It has Obi-Wan. It has Anakin after he's redeemed, in an incredible story. If you read Brotherhood by Mike Chen, basically a sequel in this book. Like there's some really good stuff in this that it's like it brings me back to what I love about Star Wars and just these wild characters that you get to go on an adventure with. And I don't know, just something about reading this book brought me back to that. So for me, that's the book of the year, simply because I don't know. There's so many good ones this year. There's so many good books this year, like that. Eye of Darkness as well. Yeah, it is. It is, and yeah, and I might go play it after we're done talking.
Ewok Hunt is terrifying. It made me actually feel sorry for the stormtroopers in Return of the Jedi, knowing what they probably went through, because it pans away. Of course, because we're with the Empire, the thing blows up. We don't know what happens to the remaining stormtroopers. I can only assume that I feel like they locked them all up into one of their cages, tied them up, and one at a time let them out in the woods. And they did Ewok Hunt.
That's basically what that story is.
Them. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're one at a time.
You want to know something?
You're up next.
That is a movie I would watch. You make a Disney Plus movie, just call it Ewok Hunt. That's all you got to do, and there's no dialogue except where are they, pew, pew, pew. Like that's all it is, and just a squad of stormtroopers trying to survive the night and just make it a horror movie, and just Ewoks, just they look off in the distance into the woods, and all you see is glowing eyes looking at them, and you hear yum yum. I would be the most amazing fucking thing I would ever see. I want it. I want that so bad now.
I will say I only picked this as well, not because I don't love the book. I do. It is probably my favorite, but I also wanted to give you guys High Republic if you want to go there. So,
So
okay.
Yeah, so there's
I thought for sure you were going to go High Republic. Brian,
I thought so too, but I'm like, I want to give Tyler or Brian the chance in case they want to go. I'll go a little bit out of left field, give that book a shout out because I think it deserves it. Because I don't know if enough people read it. There is some genuinely really good stuff in there. And I hope that if you have it, you give it a shot. There's going to be stories in there that you don't like. There's some stuff in there that I absolutely hate. There is a Sarlacc point of view story in there where it's basically just, you don't feed me things. I don't want to eat you. I don't want to kill you. And it's like, it's just this thing. It's like Boba Fett goes in and Boba Fett
has feelings too.
In his pit. He goes into his pit and it's like, I can't digest you. I don't want to live with you forever. It's like,
God, why do I have such heartburn? What the
hell?
That's almost like a Star Trek episode where they can't hurt the sentient life form.
What is this?
That's a Star Trek episode. That's not Star Wars.
No,
there's a sentient life like that, and we must protect it against all costs.
Yeah, there's stuff like that.
Learn how to
there's
communicate.
Other things like Dexter Jester and the story about Nanta the Ewok. It's like, oh my God, there's so many good things in there that far outweighs the bad. So
right,
I wanted to give that a shout out, and I'll let you guys take it from there.
Take it away, Brian.
So I have got to go with I just finished this book last night. And it's a High Republic. And with High Republic, it's one of those things, every one of these books leads into the next. So like it's in order to read this one, you're going to have read like 5 other books to get to this one to really know what's going on. But I loved Path of Vengeance. I absolutely loved that novel. I got down to where I had like 3 hours left on it. My Kindle tells me how, based off your reading speed, how many hours you have. And I got down to 3 hours left. And I'm like, I'm going to power through it last night.
Let's go.
And I was
the third act of that book is awesome.
Oh my God. It was so good. And I couldn't put it down. And I was just like, oh my. And it was just like, and there's huge spoilers in the end of that book. So I'm not going to say anything, but like one big spoiler hits and about who a certain somebody is. And you're like, what? And then, it goes and like this person, something happens to this person. You're like, what? And like, holy shit. It's just, that book was so great. The first act of it was a little slow, but that book just gets better.
We already read it before because in phase 2 of the High Republic, we read the Battle of Jeddah like 4, 5, 6 times. It's like, get to the next thing.
Yeah.
So
it was,
and they did touch on it some in this too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that third act when it really all came to a head, and it's just amazing. And I just started Cataclysm today.
Oh yeah.
And I'm looking forward to reading it. So I actually, before I picked it up, I was looking for a review for it. I actually found Tyler's review online, and I was going through. I was like, man, I'm so excited for this book. I'm so pumped.
It is my book of the year. If we're
is it really?
I had to do it right there.
I had a feeling you're going.
That's got me excited, dude.
It's my book of the year. I loved Convergence when it came out, and then I was wondering if Cataclysm would be a step down, because to me, Convergence is, I had it kind of like tied with The Rising Storm for my favorite High Republic book, and then Cataclysm is it's probably my favorite High Republic book. I absolutely love it. There is some just content for all of the characters in there that just perfectly
I don't know how.
So I don't want to say anything now, but there's a Yoda and Yaddle moment in that book that is just amazing. Like just amazing. The Jella and the Axel storyline, conclusion that we get in that book is just wonderful. You have just I won't say anything. I had like a little bit prepared because I thought Brian had already read it, so I thought we could actually talk about it a little more. So I don't want to spoil
I'm motivated.
I'm motivated. I would have read Cataclysm first because Path of Vengeance to me should be the last book.
Hey, you know what? And after I started reading Cataclysm, I was like, I feel like this does come before.
They definitely go hand in hand. So you didn't make a poor choice.
They do.
Path of Vengeance won't spoil anything for you.
No.
Because both deal with their very specific things. Because Path of Vengeance dealt with the Rose. Meanwhile, Cataclysm deals with Axel and all those guys over there. So they're two very different books.
Axel is, I love Axel, and Jello's, I love the Yaddle stuff is great. I mean, I got everything I want in that book. When I reviewed that one, I had just the ebook then those expire when they send us those copies. And so for Christmas this year, I wrote down like my dad, my parents were like, "What is there anything you want for Christmas?" I'm like, Cataclysm, Eye of Darkness, like give me the actual physical copies. But the funny part is, it almost felt like my dad was in a way buying Christmas presents for himself because I've already read them. And so he wants to read them. So I'm actually leaving them here at my folks' house for my dad to read. So he's like really excited. As soon as I open, he's like, now those are the ones I need to read next, right? And I'm like, yeah, let me just slide these. He'll slide these over your way. So he's excited. But that's my book of the year. I would say that I have not read any of the From a Certain Point of View books. That's a thing that I've kind of just ignored, just given the amount of Star Wars books there are. But
so you're behind 120 short stories.
Yes, that's
it's a commitment.
I look at it as I'm down a few books.
It's funny because my mom bought my aunt, and my aunt is one of the biggest Star Wars fans I know. My mom bought my aunt all 3 of those books, so now she has 100 stories to get into, and I'm like, well,
oh my god,
she's never gonna get through them because some of those are not good, but some of those.
The first one stayed on in the cantina so long.
Oh my lord! And the second,
it was just one right after another after.
The one thing I will say about
there, nope, 4 more.
I also appreciated this one because of exactly that. The first one stayed in the cantina ungodly long. Some of those stories,
half the book.
Some of those stories were like novels in of themselves. It was ridiculous. And in Empire, they did the same thing in Hoth.
Yeah,
and it was so frustrating. Not so much a problem in this one. It stays in Jabba's palace for like the first quarter of the book, but none of them overstay their welcome outside of one. But that one is really freaking good, so you forgive it. But outside of that, none of those overstay their welcome. So this one does not fall into those trappings, which is another reason why I really appreciated this book.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Just a couple quick shout outs, a couple other books that I read this year that I thought were great. I'm pretty sure you guys have read some of these. Tales of Light and Life, which was just a collection of short stories from the High Republic. That was wonderful.
So good.
And
did not like it as much as you, but it was still really good.
Really, there were a couple that weren't great, but the ones that were great in there, I absolutely adored. And I would say that the Crimson Climb book, I went into that thinking it was going to be a snooze fest that I wouldn't particularly enjoy. It would just make me mad. But because I've criticized E.K. Johnston books on this show before. But like I told you guys before, that book, it blew me away just in terms of how much fun I had with it. It's not any Star Wars masterpiece, but golly, it just was a bunch of fun to read. And I would be open to more books like that in the future. But just a couple quick shout outs there. And then Nate said this, it was Nate's text to me when he was about 150 pages into Eye of Darkness, and I want to just absolutely affirm him in this. With the Eye of Darkness, George Mann was cooking. He was cooking. And I can't wait for Brian to read that.
I can't wait for that book. Stay tuned here on the channel because we're going to have my interview with George coming up fairly soon here. I'm finally starting to put it together. Well, Brian, you're going to get the listen because you're probably going to have to put together for the channel.
Yay!
So there's that. But yeah, stay tuned for that in the next few weeks. I can't wait for you guys to get into that because we talked for damn near an hour. Like we talked about everything Star Wars. Cool. And George is a wonderful dude, and he is a Star Wars fan through and through. So
I love what he did with Dark Legends.
Oh yeah, so
I
good.
Loved Dark
Mist and Fables is also really good.
Yes,
and
both of those.
We'll get into it with the comics in a little bit here, but I want to give a shout out to one of his miniseries as well. But yeah, George Mann, he's an up and comer in Star Wars. Pay attention to that dude.
Yeah,
because he's been around for a while. But Eye of Darkness was his coming out party. So and expect his name to come out. Yeah.
That book is awesome. Let's go with the last one here. Comic book of the year. There are so many comics to choose from. Pick not necessarily just one comic book of the year, but maybe an arc of the year that you really enjoyed, or just a specific comic. I'll give this one to Nate first because I know Nate is ready to just gush over a certain arc.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And talking bounty hunters, I got to give a shout out to bounty hunters, Ethan Sachs bounty hunters. So a little bit of background and whatnot. So end of last year, so the site Star Wars News Net, we stopped reviewing the series for a while because some of the plot lines it did weren't exactly, I don't know, consumer friendly. There was a lot of unnecessary violence against underrepresented people and whatnot. But then slowly over time, the series got better. It understood its audience and understood the story it was telling. And it started to get very freaking compelling at the end of last year. Right around the time when Kira and Crimson Dawn came back in the comics, that's when Bounty Hunters really picked up and understood what it wanted to do with its story. And so I pitched to Val and Miguel and the guys, hey, I think it's time we get back into reviewing Bounty Hunters because of this, and that. The very next arc is the best arc of the entire series, and that was the Bedlam at Bastine arc, leading right into the Inferno Squad arc, into what we're seeing now with Dark Droids. I consider this a whole giant year-long arc, and it was just, man, the depths that Ethan Sachs went to with his characters, and not just the main dude, Baylor Valance. If you're not familiar, he's kind of this human cyborg type dude that him and Han actually were on Mimban together during the war and whatnot. There's a great mini series with those two. I believe it's called Imperial Cadet. I believe that's also a good one to read.
Yep.
But he basically found himself in Bounty Hunters. He found himself with the Empire after War of the Bounty Hunters, and he basically lost all of his humanity. He lost the love of his life. He lost all his friends. He's losing everything. But then he gets a kernel of hope. And he just grasps onto it. But in one of the most heart-wrenching twists of, do you think he could jump into live action, Nate? Possibly. I don't know where, but he could. I think
Mando.
I believe one of those types of shows. I think that'd be an interesting little cameo because he's been a character forever. He actually, I see a lot of comparisons to Terminator. Baylor Valance predates Terminator. He's been around since the freaking 70s. He's one of the original Legends characters. So put respect on that dude's name. But yeah, like Baylor Valance, at the beginning of the year, he got some of his humanity back and he grabbed it. He broke free from the Empire, only for the Empire to say, nah. And they sent Inferno Squad after him and the rest. And that was a wonderful little mini arc. Inferno Squad from Battlefront 2, and Ethan Sachs captured them really well. I really liked what he did with them. And they basically wiped his memories. They put like this little data chip in him, and they said, nah, you are losing everything again, even worse than before. And so just this last back half of the year was just this quest and his friends and Bounty Hunters became this just like very familial and just this fight for friendship, fight for love and hope and everything Star Wars is at its core in the Bounty Hunters way, which is only violence and mayhem. And it was really fun. And they ended the year with one of my favorite issues, and just Baylor Valance is back and he remembers everything. And I just loved what the series did. And I don't know, just a lot of the series comics for me this year in Star Wars didn't really hit like I wanted to, but Bounty Hunters scratched everything I love about a story. So Bounty Hunters has to be my pick for this year.
I'm not a big Bounty Hunters person. I kind of branched away a little bit once the Kira stuff kind of wrapped up with the Bounty Hunters, and I kind of started diving deeper into all of the Kira everything. But of course, I need to go finish the arcs for this year. Still, I'm a little behind on some of those. But Brian, what about you? Pick one. Pick a comic. What do you got?
I'm like you. I'm a little behind on some of the comics. I haven't started any of the Dark Droid stuff yet. I've got it all stacked up right here in like chronological order, ready to go. But I haven't started it yet.
Oh, Dark Droids. droids.
Is that a good Dark Droids or a
I'm not
bad
sure.
O
I'm not
Dark-
sure.
Oh, it's an indifferent Dark Droids.
Because
okay.
it just ended and the dust is settling. So now it's trying to figure out, was it good or not?
Fair
Because there's some stuff in there that is rather silly.
Weird.
Rather silly.
I've heard it was weird.
It is weird.
So I'm gonna go with a collection of comics. It's not so much an arc, but a collection of comics that came out, and it was the Return of the Jedi comics.
Ooh, yeah.
that came out, because there were some hidden gems in there that and that one of them
issue.
Yeah, and one of them was just I completely surprised by how good it was, and it was the Max Rebo comic. I was not expecting the Max Rebo issue to be that good. I was like, what is this? What am I even reading right now? But that whole arc of everything that was going on in Jabba's palace, like with the old protocol droid that got disintegrated, and like what was going on with him and why he ended up on the rack, in Return of the Jedi, and everything going on with Max Rebo. That whole arc was so cool. And it was I think it was so under the radar. I don't think anybody ever really talked about it because nobody expected it to be.
We didn't even review all the issues for our site. It was so under the radar. But there was some really good stuff in there.
There was some. I mean, and out of that, like, what was it, like 8 or 9 issues? I think something
even
like
less than that. I think it was like 6 or 7.
You might be right. Yeah, there like 2/3 of them were great.
I know. It was really good.
It was really good. So that's what I'm going with. Those Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. that little, like you said, 6 or 7, 8, issue run, something like that. It was pretty cool.
For me, my favorite is the Ewoks issue.
That was good. The cover of that is
I read that one.
There is no dialogue.
None.
In it. And the way Alyssa Wong is able to tell a story is unbelievable. And just the emotions and the facial expressions of these guys. You can tell so much.
The flames in the eyes on the cover.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good.
Love it.
We've talked so much about Ewoks tonight, like so much more about Ewoks tonight than I thought we were going to. But Ewoks,
they are vicious little bastards. They are vicious little bastards.
Were the winners of 2023.
Dude, those little guys. Jesus.
I do want to give a shout out also in the comic realm. Let's see what else was really good this year. We just talked about her. We just talked about her. Alyssa Wong's Dr. Aphra, really good stuff in there. Charles Soule, his stuff's always good.
Vader.
His stuff, Vader, his series is always good. His Star Wars and his Lando arc is really good there. Star Wars Visions released a one-shot comic that is really good. It's really different, really out there. But if you like your weird, Star Wars Visions, that one-shot by Peach Momoko, who is an up-and-coming Star Wars artist in her own right, that's also really good stuff in there. What else?
I can give you a couple.
Yeah, go for it.
So for me, I have to say, wrapping up Kira's arc with Hidden Empire, it was stretched out too long, but I was glad that we got just the arc conclusion, but they did a really good job. The last 2 episodes, the last 2 issues were really good. I just loved how it ended with Luke and Leia being the ones to kind of hear how her story ended, and then knowing
I did like Kira, that ending a lot, and how they ended it. Just them wondering if she's still out there.
And then
it seemed like they thought she was dead because they I just wish she had lived to like see us win.
Yeah.
And
then we get this awesome ending where she does see it end and her actions mattered at the end of the day. And that was a really good ending to that.
It was because they were only able to find out about the plans, do some with her this star, do some stuff that Crimson Dawn was doing, but then it ends with her all alone in the cantina, everyone's celebrating, but she's lost everything. She has no one and essentially has nothing. And there was something in the Crimson Climb book where it showed that scene from the last comic where she's sitting all alone and everyone's celebrating, and someone comes and sits at the table with her and says, we don't know who it is. And she just says, like, I should have guessed that you'd be here or something. And that's how it ends. Like the book ends with this ominous, like this person saying something to her at the table. So I'm like, wait, is that their subtle way of saying, hey, there's some more Kira stories that could come, out of this? Or is it just like, we're just going to mess with you for a little bit? Probably a little bit of both. I will also say the Blade was fun to get Porter
Yeah.
Ingle and learning about his sister and the Barrage Vow and where some of that comes from, and seeing General Vice for the first time, which has payoff in the Eye of Darkness
in ways I never pictured, and just awesome.
I thought it was just going to be a cool looking villain that we saw here in this short comic miniseries. Nope, this is going to be a very important character in the Phase 3 of the High Republic. Okay. And then lastly, the first 2 issues of Shadows of Starlight, especially the first one, where they reveal that Aslan Rel is still alive, where they revealed just kind of the rules of these Jedi, like the Guardian protocols. Yes, those 2 were so good.
Wonderful issues.
Especially the first one for me. It just felt like just shadows of the Clone Wars, as we're seeing some of this stuff taking place that's going to be ultimately just completely fleshed out and expanded upon in the Clone Wars, and seeds of the Jedi's downfall just being planted here, I feel like. And that was just great. The Aslan Rel reveal in that comic was just
out of nowhere.
I was not expecting anything like that.
Here's the thing. At the time, I was reading Eye of Darkness before that came out, and I already learned about Aslan Rel coming back in Eye of Darkness. I did not expect him to pop up in that comic, and when he did, I'm like, oh, that's how they're doing it. Oh, man, that can't be a surprise in Eye of Darkness? Dang it.
That is funny. But yeah, that's probably those are my comics this year that I enjoyed the most. And I love Kira's character, so it was glad to see all of that resolved, and then even have the book at the end of the year to kind of go along with it a little bit was fun. And then give me all the High Republic stuff. I talk about High Republic so much, but just getting Porter Ingle, and I hope they do some more, stuff with the Blade comics as well. But it's all good. I can't wait for 2024. I feel like it's going to be a really solid comic year as well. Just with Phase 3 of the High Republic and everything. And I'm sure they're going to announce some more special, stuff with that.
I'm very curious of what they do, because now that Dark Droids is done, the mainline stuff has to start wrapping up as well.
I know they're
Bounty Hunters and Dr. Aphra are both ending this next month.
Well, they have the Windu and the Jango Fett stuff coming out next year.
And Windu and Mace and Jango Fett are each having a little mini-series. Thrawn Alliance is getting adapted. Yeah. But I'm curious of what they do with the mainline Star Wars by Soul, and then the Vader run still going. So next year's comics could be very interesting, because they could. I don't know. We'll see what they do. But real quickly, because I know we're running short on time here, I wanted to give a shout. I wanted to bring back up this comment by Manslayer, who brought up Tales of the Death Star.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never read honestly, I haven't read that, but I wanted to give a shout out.
I haven't read it yet.
I haven't read it myself.
I did read it.
Yep. And I want to give a shout out to Dark Horse this year as well. We talk a lot about Marvel and their stuff and their output, but Dark Horse's stuff in 2023 really upped their game as well. And it branched out from the all ages stuff that we were seeing a lot of with Hyperspace Stories and High Republic Adventures. One of my favorite comics of the year was Claudia Gray's Quest of the Jedi.
That was good.
Yes.
Oh, that book was so good. I teased it earlier, but George Mann's Nameless Terror, that 4-issue miniseries, was unbelievable. It was this aliens meet Jaws like horror show. It's like, are these people going to survive the Nameless? I don't know. It's the Nameless. You don't know. Anything could happen, but there's that. And Hyperspace Stories itself got more mature. There was this really weird and twisted Greedo issue that was just so out of left field. There's a Boba Fett issue in there that was really good, and some other stuff. So I want to give a shout out to Dark Horse, and as well for the first issue of High Republic Adventures for Phase 3. I won't spoil it, but the ending of that issue, my jaw dropped. I could not believe they did that this early for that series. I can't wait to see what they do there. So
I might go buy it right now.
Yeah, so
real quick.
Star Wars comics in general, I can't wait to see what they do for the next year.
Talking about this one?
Yes. Yep. The ending of that issue is stunning.
Scrolls to the last page. I want to say
fast forward to the credits.
With Manslayer, though, I think that the first half of the year we're gonna do some of the stuff, and then Someone's dead. I know it.
Oh,
From my friend far from.
Okay, someone's back.
uh-huh.
So
Okay.
we are going towards the sequels, baby. Answer's coming, I think. Thank you,
so.
Ransler. I think that with the Dave Filoni movie coming out and the Ray movie, I think we're gonna see not necessarily maybe next year, but into maybe the latter half of the year, but into 2025, 2026. I bet that we're going to get a publishing initiative that's going to have some books take place before the Ray movie. And there's going to be some more books take place in this New Republic era, and definitely some comics that take place in this New Republic era. So I'm looking forward to those for sure. I really want to dig my teeth into a Ray novel. That would be just, I cannot wait to dig my teeth into that. Do you have any final Star Wars stuff of 2023 to get into before we get out of here? Just any quick shout outs for the year, or next week, I'm sure we're going to get into our, I think, goals of 2024. What are our Star Wars resolutions for the year? What does Star Wars need to do? But right now, last moment, look back, any final thoughts, and we can get out of here. Brian?
No, I think it was a good year. I think it was a slow year for Star Wars, but I think that's something we needed. We needed a little bit of a breather after, some of the other stuff we've gotten. And I'm cool. It was really cool year. Had Ahsoka was awesome. Bad Batch was great. Mando was, but I think Ahsoka aside, I think the publishing side really took off this year, especially with the High Republic. So,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, really, really enjoying what they did with High Republic so far this year with this phase 2 thing. Pretty good.
Nate, what about you?
We haven't talked about it. Got to give a quick shout out to Jedi Survivor.
That
game was awesome. Issues aside, it sucks that it didn't come out as polished as it probably should have, but it is what it is. The experience of playing that game for the first time was awesome. And I can't wait to see what Respawn does next with that franchise and what they do else. Because I think we'll find out next year that more about those other games they have cooking. So I can't wait to find out more about
Outlaws,
what they have.
Yeah.
There's Outlaws, and of course Respawn has that.
Yeah.
Eclipse, and then Respawn has that FPS going and that strategy game. So Star Wars games as well is picking up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they got. But yeah, I got to give a quick shout out to Survivor because what an experience. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And Star Wars this year as a whole. And to Brian's point, this year kind of felt like a reset year. It kind of felt like the early days of when Disney bought Lucasfilm and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. It felt like 2013, 2014 on those types of vibes where we're finding out what they're doing and what they got cooking. But and this year kind of felt like, all right, we know their plan. Can they deliver? It's going to be a wait to find out what the movies are going to be and the shows are going to keep us in the books. So we're probably looking at another 2024 that might be on the bit of the quieter side, but hopefully we get some good stuff next year.
Maybe the good thing about 2024 on the quieter side, though, is that it might give the Acolyte time to breathe, and as something that's brand new like that, it could, which could launch into who knows what could come out of that. But
if that takes off, or something else takes off, that could change their plans entirely again. So,
and before we get out of here, please like and subscribe to the channel. We come on here every week. Brian's going to be starting the weekly roundups here. I have a fun idea for some video shorts that I'll tell the guys once we get off the show, but that'll be starting up in a few weeks, hopefully as well. I got some good ideas for that. And you can find my stuff on Star Wars Newsnet. I'll be publishing out some stuff here soon. Brian, go ahead and tell us where we can find you after, of course, they hit that like and subscribe button.
You guys can find me on my show, the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Kind of taking a step back for just a couple of weeks to kind of get things rebooted, or not really rebooted, but reset and get ready to launch into 2024 to talk about all this stuff. And like I said, trying to get caught up on some canon material too. So my co-host Yusuf Wally from Egypt is going to be joining me. And the cool thing about Yusuf is, and you wouldn't think this is, but it is, he's so far behind on novels, it's insane. But it's a dynamic that we have where he gets to read stuff for the first time that came out years ago, and we get to kind of see how his point of view on some of the stuff is after some other things came out that might have an effect on it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. It's nice getting a refreshed look at some of these older novels and stuff through fresh eyes. It's pretty cool. So come hang out with us, and we'll talk about some Star Wars canon, man.
That is awesome. I can't wait to tune in and look at the canon timeline and everything once you got it, fully figured out. That's gonna be awesome, and a great resource for us in the future when we forget, what year the Nubs first became a Jedi.
I actually had to use my own timeline the other day. Like when I was looking at High Republic stuff, and I knew I was getting ready to finish Path of Vengeance. I was looking because I knew there was a bunch of comics in between Path of Vengeance and Catalyst, so I had to go look at my own timeline to see what order everything went in. And so but yeah, no, it's you guys, if you guys want to check that out, it's starwarscanon.net. Go check it out. The timeline is still under construction. I think I'm up to the Age of the Rebellion now, if I'm not mistaken, on getting everything put together. So definitely go over and check it out.
Fantastic. Nate, what about you?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Nate_Manningham. Tweet about Star Wars, all that good stuff, and sports and whatnot. And my
Minnesota Timberwolves losing to
Thunder, winning the 2024 NBA championship. Get ready, boys! It's happening. But ironically, I'm also working on a guide for Star Wars Newsnet. Hopefully, that's coming out here in the next couple of weeks. It's not going to be quite as detailed as Brian's, but basically, it is going to be a comic reading guide, because we talked a lot about the mainline stuff, like the Star Wars and the Darth Vaders, and once you get into the weeds, it is very, very confusing. Very confusing, as I'm sure, Brian, you're finding out, putting together your own thing. So
that's great too, because I consider myself someone who's pretty in the know with the publishing and for comics, and I had to, a couple of weeks ago, I had to ask you. I was like, I'm trying to get some Vader stuff going. I want to read some more Vader. I was like, I need help figuring out which Vader thing to read, because there's different ones.
So it's going to be like this whole thing. It's like split into like little sections where you can read this stuff here, read this stuff there, resources on how to find this stuff, reading orders, all kinds of stuff that I hope people can look at and hopefully know where to get into comics, because man, comics are tough. And I see on Reddit all the time, because I get notifications from the Star Wars comics Reddit, and I swear like 75% of them are just questions of how do I get into this stuff. So it's like, so I'm looking forward to getting that out in the world and just helping people find this stuff and the easiest way possible. So so that's coming to the site, hopefully maybe even as early as next week. So we'll see. We shall see. But that's about it from me.
Well, please like and subscribe to the channel. Follow Star Wars Newsnet, my Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are on social media. We're there. We're your source for everything Star Wars. Like I said at the beginning of the show, over 1,000 articles this year. We do our live streams. We're gonna have more video content coming out next year. And honestly, thanks for being in the chat this year, everyone. Hopefully next year will be bigger and better for us. And we're just gonna keep on being. I think this is such a great channel, both in like just our YouTube content, but just our site as well, of just good discourse on Star Wars. It's not a toxic place where certain ideas
Twitter and Facebook can be toxic.
Twitter, well, in terms of what we bring to the table, I think we do a good job. We listen to each other's opinions. We don't support any of that. No. We don't really get into the weeds, and I really appreciate that about Star Wars Newsnet and what we do. So hopefully another great year is ahead. Like and subscribe to the channel. For Light and Life, as always, Brian, take us out.
And until next week, guys, may the Force be with you.